Okay, so let's talk a little bit about workflows. So as I mentioned above in my blog post and in a couple of my other videos, I currently have 5 different workflows that are kind of like welcome sequence workflows that someone would get if they opt in for one of my forms. So I'm going to just go through one of these workflows so you can kind of see how it was built. If you want to create a new workflow, you can just create this button here. I did hear from somebody else, and I recommend this as well, not to create your emails within a workflow. Instead, create your emails in the email tab and then add them to the workflow. So you'll see right here that I have some sequence emails in here. So I have email 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then when you create your workflow, you can just copy them over from this section. It's a little easier to edit and save emails in this view as opposed to creating them and saving them in a workflow. So that's just one little side tip. But let's look at this 30 to-do steps workflow that I already have published. I'm going to edit it. It's going to ask me to pause the workflow to edit it. I'm going to go ahead and say yes. And you will see just a real basic design of how this workflow is built. So you'll see that there's just different steps that happen, and it's very easy to understand and see what happens. You'll see that the 30 to-do steps begins when, and this is your trigger option, when a subscriber is added to this particular segment. So before you create a workflow, you need to make sure that you have some segments created, because at this point you cannot create a segment from a workflow. So once you have that trigger set, then you're going to tell it what to do. So once a subscriber is added to the segment, this email is going to pop over to them. So they can read that email, and then there's going to be a time delay. Now these time delays can change based on whatever you want to do. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. Then we have the second email, time delay, third email, etc. Now if you want to make changes to one of these things, you can just click on it. It'll pull up over here on the side where you can say edit. And then this will pull up the email editor where you can go through and add, blocks, or you can change links or whatever you need to do. But let me just show you, when you click save, you have to click save in a few different places, which makes it, if you miss one of those, you might end up losing your changes. So I also have to click save down here, and then it goes back to the workflow view. So then again, we have a time delay. We're going to go all the way to the bottom so you can just see what it looks like when you add a next thing. So this is my last email in the workflow. If I click the plus sign, it gives you some options. You can send another email, you can do a time delay, you can have an if-then condition, or you can take an action. So if we did the time delay, you can see that you want to wait for, and you can enter a number, minutes, days, or hours, minutes, hours, or days. So that's your options under the time delay. If we don't want to do a time delay, let's say we want to do an if-then condition. I haven't really played around with this too much, but if it looks like if this condition, which there's only one, the subscriber has opened the email, then you can do something else. Again, I haven't really needed that yet in one of my workflows, but that might be something I use down the road, and there might be more conditions that become available once they add some more functionality. We're going to delete that. And then the last one is take an action. And this is really related to segments. So you can add them to a different segment, or you can remove them from a segment. So let's say I put them through this workflow, and then at the end of this, I want to add them to my general email list. So like the list that's going to get any email that I send out on just a weekly basis. I could add the subscriber to that segment at the end of them getting this workflow. So that's a nice little functionality there where you can either add or remove them from a segment based on where they're at within their workflow. So we are going to delete that step, and we're going to save the workflow in its entirety. And we're going to republish it because we paused it in order to edit it. So you can see here that it is published. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to my 30 to-do steps blog post. So this is where somebody would opt in to their freebie, which would kick off them getting the emails in this 30 to-do steps workflow. So the way that I have this set up, instead of creating a form for to embed in every blog post, I have set up an actual opt-in landing page, and I'll show you what that looks like. If I just click on this blog graphic, you'll see that I have a page set up on my website that's just called 30 to-do steps. So this is what I would call my opt-in page, or my landing page for this opt-in. This is just a page on my Squarespace site. I have a header image, some graphics, and then this is where I would embed the form from FloDesk. So this form right here is actually a form from ConvertKit. So all I need to do, the only link I really need to change in this whole system is this form right here. Because once I change this to a FloDesk form instead of a ConvertKit form, then anytime anybody opts in, they're going to go to FloDesk instead of ConvertKit. So this is a really nice way, simple way to not have to change multiple links in multiple places. So if you were to have opt-ins on like 7 different blog posts, instead of having to go to each one of those blog posts and changing the embed code on each post, if you just set up simple opt-in landing pages, you can just change the code once. It does mean that the person clicking has to click like 1 or 2 more times, but in my opinion, it's just easier for everybody so that you don't have missing links or wrong links that you forgot about or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started, and we'll see you on the next video.